Jeff, you've been going through a nightmare. I would start to say every father's nightmare, but I don't think anybody can dream up this type of a nightmare of what you've been going through, in particular with your son, James, of course, your ex-wife. And you say, well, is it a custody battle? This is something that's unheard of. I want you to tell me the story. Start from the beginning.
Well, it really started when my son was 2 years old, and I was still married, and I noticed that my ex-wife, Ann Georgelis, she's a pediatrician in Coppell, Texas, was giving my son timeouts, and she'd tell him weird things like, you don't want to be a boy because the monsters only eat boys, and she'd scare him when she'd put him into these timeouts. So I'm like, hey, you can't scare a kid when they go into time. The purpose of a timeout is not to scare a kid, right? It's just to give him time to think about it, right? So that was very strange. She started ramping up other weird things. Her daughters began to have secret conversations, and then her and the daughters would leave, and they would stay away all night and leave me just with the boys. And you got to understand, I was a stay-at-home dad, so I worked a business out of the home, and I worked all the marketing for her medical practice as well. And so I raised those boys. I mean, I'm the one who got up at night and fed them and everything, right? So I did all the cooking. I got her daughters to school, helped her daughters with the homework. So like, I'm the family guy. So then all of a sudden she starts manufacturing these claims about how I was being too disciplinarian and too authoritarian with her daughters, and used that when she filed for divorce to wedge me out of the house. So I moved a mile away, and for 2 years, we shared custody 50-50 for 2 years before we even made it to trial. During that time, my kid had just turned 3 years old. He's 3 months past his third birthday. He comes to my house, and he's wearing a rag on his head. Dish towel. Well, why are you wearing a dish towel? And I'm thinking we had just watched Lawrence of Arabia. So I'm thinking, he wants to fight Turks.
Yeah.
So he says, well, I'm a girl. And I said, well, what do you mean you're a girl? And I realized something important in the divorce was happening. So I whipped out my iPhone and took the first iPhone video I'd ever taken. I didn't even know how to do it. I had to actually text somebody. And then I asked him, why are you wearing that rag on your head? And he explains it. If you go out onto YouTube, you can just search for Mommy Says I'm a Girl. That video has millions and millions of views. And he just says, his answer was, because Mommy says I'm a girl.
And this is your video?
Yes.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah. So then I said, well, what else does she do with you like a girl? And he says, she puts me in dresses, she paints my nails, and he tells me he has a girl's brain in a boy's body. And that's what she was teaching him. So
before this, there was no indication of anything like that.
Man, I got to tell you, I just, you can call me a starry-eyed and in love or whatever you want to say, but I didn't see any of this. I didn't see the divorce coming. I didn't see any of it coming. So, I mean, I thought we were going to get married, work hard to get to heaven together. I mean, that's really, I thought we were going to do that. So I was just completely aghast. I really didn't accept even that we were divorced for 2 or 3 years after we were divorced. It took me that long to even accept the fact that we were divorced. Anyway, so we eventually have to get a custody evaluator in this divorce. He's a psychologist. His name is Blake Mitchell. He's out of Frisco. And I showed him that video. And he asked me during the whole course of his investigations, what are your top 5 issues? My number 1 issue is she's tampering with his gender identity. And I showed him that video. So we get to the divorce trial, and that video is nowhere in his report. And he said that I manufactured a false claim that she was tampering with his gender identity.
Did he give a basis for that?
He said I found no evidence Miss Georgelis was tampering with James's gender identity. I find no evidence that she's treated him like a girl. She hid that from him. I see no evidence of that at all. Mr. Younger made a false accusation, and on that basis, they restricted my possession below standard possession. Oh. So it was a complete lie. Then Miss Georgelis began to really ramp up this transition of my son and what the gender ideologues call social transition, what I call cross-dressing children. It's just making drag queens out of kids. She began to put him in a dress, put him in a long wig. She enrolled him in school under a fake girl's name. And the school refused to call him by his legal name. I went through the entire grievance process, and they would not do it. They refused to do it and said it was not a violation of my parental rights that they were calling him by a girl's name. And they were actually affirming him as a girl, so they were actively teaching him that he was a girl. The school counselor did that. The teacher did that. So you got to put yourself in James's position, right? So here's this little kid. He wants both parents to love him, right? But he's going to school, and his teacher says he's a girl. The police officer at school says he's a girl. The school counselor says he's a girl. The librarian says he's a girl. The principal says he's a girl. His mom says he's a girl. It's just me and his priest who are saying, you're not a girl. And so he really did not know what to believe. I mean, he actually thought probably I was making it up for a long time. But one thing about James is that he's never presented as a girl with me. So with me, he always wears boys' clothes and so forth. I even had a dress at my house for a period of time. I had actually 2 dresses. And I said, look, if you want to like explore gender in my house, you know, we're not going to do it outside the house, but if you want to like explore that in a safe place in the house, in private, I'm cool with that, right? And I caught him the next day in the middle of the night. He got up, and he was downstairs in the kitchen throwing those dresses away.
Wow.
He threw them out. And his brother, Jude, I named my sons after the brothers of Jesus, James and Jude. Mm-hmm. So his brother, Jude, has struggled with, you know, when do I break the commandments? Like, when am I supposed to lie and when am I not supposed to lie? Right? So we were out. So when I was a kid, I grew up in the Panhandle. So I was hunting rabbits with Apache throwing sticks, you know, when I was a kid and everything. So my kids want to learn how to do that. So I actually got them some Australian hunting boomerangs. We've been hunting rabbits with them. So we were filthy dirty. We'd been up by the creek. We were taking a shower, just pounding into the shower, you know, just so we could get to the dinner table and not, you know, disabuse people. And Jude just points down at James's groin and says, I mean, he's not a girl, look. You know, why do they keep calling him a girl?